Beautiful crispy layers of phyllo pastry, a delicious nutty filling, and the most beautiful syrup to bring it all together. This is heaven. Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. It's me, Manny from Manny's Made at Home. Today we're starting a brand new series. We're going to try the delicious Greek food. We're going to start with a dessert. We're going to be making a delicious baklava. Let's look at the ingredients that we're going to need. Alright, to begin, we're going to be working with our nuts. I've got 3 different varieties here because I feel like it's going to bring a lot of different flavors, but I need to kind of chop them all into kind of like a powder. So I'm going to go in first with my pistachios. I'm just going to blitz them. And this is about the consistency that you want. You don't want it to be powder, you still want some kind of chunky bits in there. I'm just going to put this into a bowl, and I'll do the same with my walnuts. And finally, my almonds. For a bit of extra flavor, I'm going to add in some cinnamon here as well. I've seen many recipes that also add cloves here, but I don't have ground cloves, and I'm going to add them into the syrup later, so that flavor will still be there. Now I'm just going to mix it all with a spoon. There are some chunky bits in there. If you find some of them are too big, you can just take them out, but I think the difference in size is going to give us a nice crunch and texture to the baklava later, so I'm fine with that. Okay, that's perfect. Let's get working on our syrup. I'm gonna add in some sugar into a heavy bottom pan and some water. But I'm not gonna stir this or anything, and I'm gonna put it on a medium heat and let it come to the boil until the sugar dissolves. I'm gonna put in my slices of orange and the zest of my lemon. And finally, I've got a cinnamon stick and some cloves. Now I'm gonna let it come to the boil, and then we'll let it boil for about 2 minutes. Right, my syrup is done, so I've taken it off the heat. I'm just gonna take out some of these oranges to show you what it's looking like. They've gotten nice and soggy, so that's how you know that all their flavor has infused into the syrup. And look at that, my beautiful syrup. It's nice and syrupy, but we need to make it a little bit thicker and sweeter. So I'm gonna go in now with my honey. This is actually Greek honey. And the reason why we add the honey in now while it's boiling is so that it retains its beautiful aroma. Now that it's lovely and mixed, I'm gonna put the oranges back on while we let it cool so that it can keep infusing those flavors in. And in the meantime, we can start assembling our baklava. Okay, everything's set up, so let's start assembling. We've got a small baking dish that I'm gonna use to build my baklava in. I have my sheets of phyllo pastry here, so I'm gonna use them to line my pan. Right, gonna cut this in half. I've seen very many different versions of this. I don't think there's an official or traditional number of layers or number of phyllo sheets that you use per layer. I'm just gonna try to use all of the ones that I have. I have about 34. First, you go in with your melted butter and you butter your baking dish really well. Baklava is a very indulgent dessert. I don't really think there's a way to make it kind of like light, but you know, every once in a while, you deserve a treat. It has so many beautiful flavors and beautiful textures that it's absolutely worth all of the calories. Okay, I'm going in with my bottom layer of phyllo. I'm gonna go with 8 sheets of phyllo for my bottom layer. And what you want to make sure, and this is very important, you have to butter in between each layer of phyllo, or each sheet of phyllo pastry. In my research came across that apparently you don't actually brush on the phyllo, you want to almost sprinkle the melted butter on top. So your brush should never actually touch the phyllo. And what this helps to do is it actually it makes it much more flakier when it bakes in the oven. Right, and I continue that until I've got my bottom layer done. And don't worry if there's any overhang, we will tuck that in at the end. So now I can go in with my ground nuts. I'm just putting a thin layer, but I want to make sure that it's kind of like all over the bottom. For the middle layers, I'm gonna do 4 sheets of phyllo per layer. Okay, that's sheet number 4. So I'm gonna go in with some extra nuts now, and then we'll do one final layer. Okay, we're almost at the top now. I still have some filling left over. I'm gonna have phyllo pastry left as well, so I'll probably do a tiny baklava on this side as well that I can enjoy, or give away to a neighbor. I'm gonna go in with 6 sheets of phyllo pastry for my top layer, but it's essentially the same process. Okay, now that I'm getting to the top, I'm gonna butter my top layer, and this is the time where we're gonna start to tuck it in. So just fold in your overlap, and then I'm going to cover them up with another layer, more butter, and the final one. And now using my brush, I'm gonna try to tuck this into the edges. And now we're gonna spoon some butter over the top, because why not? I told you it was an indulgent dessert. And this I'm gonna brush all over. Now I'm gonna put this in the fridge to set for about 20 minutes, and then we can score it and finally bake it. Preheat your oven in the meantime to 150 degrees. Okay, my baklava is nice and set now, so now we have to score it. This is the bit that makes it the most nervous, but let's give it a go. I'm just gonna go with horizontal lines first, and now I'm gonna go with diagonal scores. And now this goes into the oven at 150 degrees for about an hour and a half, possibly 2 hours. Let's see how it goes. Okay, my baklava came out of the oven and I've actually let it cool. It's been about 4 hours now, so it's totally cool. And I've also strained my syrup. You don't have to, but I just kind of wanted it to be a little bit clearer and get rid of any kind of floaty bits that were in there. So all we have to do now is pour the syrup on top of our baklava. But I'm gonna use a ladle just to make sure that I try to get it in through the scores that we made earlier, just to make sure that it soaks through every layer of our baklava. Okay, I've gone in with tons of syrup there. I'm gonna leave it for a couple of minutes for it to actually soak in through every layer and into all of the sheets of phyllo. And then finally we can cut ourselves a portion and give it a taste. We've got a sharp knife to cut through a portion. And there it is, our beautiful baklava. Oh my God, doesn't that look fantastic? Wow. Oh wow, that is just incredible. It's such a beautiful texture. The bottom layers of the phyllo are nicely soaked with the syrup and the top's still a bit crispy. And the crunch and flavor from the nuts. Oh my God, it's so delicious. That syrup helps to bring everything together. It's such a beautiful, aromatic, citrusy flavor. Oh, it's delicious. You need to give it a try. Very bold to say this may be the best baklava I've ever had. It's actually delicious. As I mentioned earlier, I haven't had a lot of experience with Greek food, but after trying this one, I am hungry for more. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the recipes that I've got coming up. If you enjoyed the video, give me a big like and a comment below with what you thought of it. If you try it and you want to post it on Instagram, please tag me. I want to see how you do. With that, I'll leave you for this video and enjoy.